my name is Lillian, and today I'm going to be talking about how I went to MEPS for the first time to verify my PiCAT score. So I do have a whole story of my recruiting process so far, and so I'm trying to enlist into the Air Force, and just thought I wanted to start documenting my journey for my future self to look back on, and any friends and family that might be curious as to what I'm doing and just want to know what the update is. So welcome. So I took my PiCAT, which is the take-home version of the ASVAB, so PiCAT, which stands for, the Pre-Screening Internet-Delivered Computer Adaptive Test, which is, again, the computerized version you can take home for the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. And so I took that on June 13th, 2021, after meeting my recruiter that month, and I got a 98 on that one. And so what you have to do is within 45 days of taking your PiCAT, you have to go to MEPS, the Military Entrance Processing Station, and verify your score. Pretty much take like a 30-minute test where they pull questions from your PiCAT just to make sure that you didn't cheat, and that you get the relatively same score. And then if that's the case, then you get to keep that ASVAB score as your official score. So I went to MEPS on this past Thursday, so that was July 22nd, 2021, and that was my first time going to MEPS and everything. And so how it started was Wednesday night, I let my recruiter know I was ready to go. He told me that, hey, I can schedule a taxi to come pick you up, which I did want because I wasn't trying to drive an hour through traffic to get to the nearest MEPS. So he called me the following morning, Thursday morning, and he pretty much told me like, hey, there's an issue, the taxi service can't find your address. So that was kind of like the first hiccup already. And I was like, I don't know if my address is just like too new, like the neighborhood, but so we had to put in like the address of a local park. And then just gave the taxi driver my phone number, and I was like, hey, I actually live down the street, can you come pick me up? Because I'm not trying to walk in the sun to like get all sweaty before going to MEPS, right? So he was able to pick me up around noon, and I got in. It was a shared taxi with another guy going to MEPS, and so the taxi driver and myself were wearing masks. So this is 2021, right? We're still kind of in the limbo of what's appropriate, still kind of getting through COVID still. So so keep that in mind. But the other passenger, he did not have a mask, and I'm vaccinated already, so it doesn't really bother me. But so we got to MEPS about an hour later, around 1, and at this point I also realized I had made the mistake of I hadn't eaten or drank anything at all before going, which was so dumb of me because I've watched a bunch of videos before going, and a lot of them were like, make sure you eat before you go, and I don't know why, I just completely forgot. I didn't drink any water, hadn't had a single bite to eat, so I was already on the drive there feeling so dehydrated and like just had a headache already, and was already like, oh, this is gonna be an interesting day, So so we got there, got out of the taxi, and there's this guy at the front of MEPS that's kind of checking everyone in. You have this COVID form that you're supposed to fill out, pretty much just saying like, have you ever had COVID? Do you have any symptoms? Have you been tested recently or been around someone? Like the typical screening questions. But for some reason, none of us like that were in line filled it out correctly. Like not the questions part, but there's like a section at the bottom that's like you have to fill out more information, but it's not very like clear. And the guy was like not rude, maybe kind of rude, but just like kind of abrupt, right? Like, you didn't fill this out correctly, like go fill it out. And a lot of us were looking at each other like, do you know how you're supposed to fill it out? I don't know what he's talking about. What do we do? And he's like, if you don't know, you have to call your recruiter. And if your recruiter doesn't know, he has to call his officer. You should have filled it out before you got here, blah, blah, blah. So I called my recruiter and I was like, hey, he wants us to fill out this bottom section of the form. Do you know what he's talking about? And my recruiter's like, honestly, I haven't had to send someone to MEPS with a COVID form in like quite a while, so I don't really know what he's talking about, but when you figure out, let me know. And I was like, okay, cool. But we did figure out eventually. You just had to like write your put your name and like your social and what branch you were applying for at the very bottom. But yeah, so I finally got admitted to go in, but I also noticed the guy that was in the taxi with me. So everyone else waiting in line had masks except that guy, and the guy in the front was like, "Why don't you have a mask?" And so the guy was just like, "I didn't know you were supposed to have one." And he's like, "What do you mean I'm supposed to have one? Your recruiter is supposed to tell you." Which I mean, my recruiter didn't tell me either, but I feel like these days it's just good to have one just in case. But yeah, so the guy was kind of giving him a hard time, like, "Why didn't your recruiter tell you? Where's your recruiter? Have your recruiter go get you a mask." And we just drove an hour in the taxi to get there. So the guy was like, "My recruiter's like back home. He's not here." So the guy had to go in, and he didn't get a mask for him, but like, so that's something to be aware of. You do still have to wear masks going to MEPS as of right now. But yeah, so they let me in. I went through security. They checked my stuff, and then they sent me to the Air Force Liaison office. And then I got there and pretty much left my cell phone, my Apple Watch, anything else I had on me really, in like a little cubby they had in the office. The liaison in the Air Force office, he was just kind of debriefing me on how the test is gonna go. He was like confirming my information, asked if I ever took the ASVAB before, and I was like, "Not that I'm aware of." And he kind of laughed. So yeah, I feel like the people in the Air Force office were really, really nice to me. They were joking around and stuff. So it was a nice experience. What else did he ask? He was confirming just like my information when I took the PiCAT and what I got, and I let him know like, "I got 98. He's like, "Oh, you'll be fine today." But so he let me know that if you do take the PiCAT, every 1 out of 10 people are still chosen to go take the entire ASVAB again. It's like picked at random. It's just to make sure that that way of taking the test is like still like viable and a good way to administer the test, I guess. So I was like, "Okay, that's fine." And then so he sent me upstairs, and I did have a jacket with me. I hadn't put it on, and it was kind of warm outside, as well as to the rest of the MEPS building. But they're like, "Oh, it is pretty cold in the actual computer room, so if you want to bring your jacket, you have to either put it on now or leave it in here." So they don't let you like hold your jacket and have it like on the side when you go in. So you can either have it on or leave it off. So yeah, so there's that. So I went upstairs. They kind of processed some more paperwork and went into the computer room. And so they set me up. And at this point, I realized that I don't know if I'm going to be the 1 out of 10 that's going to have to retake the ASVAB, or it's because I'm not going to pass the verification test. Because like, so when you take the PiCAT, right, the score you get at the end, I'm told is based on just like the 2 math and the 2 English sections out of 9, right? So 4 out of 9 sections, and that's your AFQT score, which what does it stand for? The Armed Forces Qualification Test score. So that's kind of more the focus, and then everything else is like specialty, like science and mechanical, electrical, auto type stuff. So I definitely guessed on a bunch of that on the actual PiCAT. But yeah, so when you do the verification though, it pulls questions from your entire ASVAB, so including all the stuff I guessed on. So I don't know if it really was I got randomly selected, or if I didn't pass the verification because of that reason. So it did send me, automatically rolled me through to take the entire ASVAB all over again, which is fine, just a little long, but again, at this point, I like stopped to drink at the water fountain before going in, but so I'm feeling like very dehydrated, very hungry, kind of nauseous, kind of like had a headache. So I was just like, I did not set myself up well to be in the best test taking state of mind. So that's totally my fault. So yeah, but it was fine. I would say the only thing that did kind of bother me was so like in the whole room of the computers, there's like a desk at the end where there's like 2 or 3 workers that sit there, and they kind of help people coming in. But my computer was like right by their desk, and they just kept talking like just about random stuff, like about work and life, and like they're not trying to whisper or anything. And so I don't know, for me, like when I hear people talking, it just I hyper focus on whatever it is that's there. So it was so distracting. Like it was fine. But But yeah, and then so after that, I had to still take the cyber test, which is pretty much just asks you a bunch of questions about internet and computer related stuff. I definitely guessed on a bunch of that too. And then they have you take the personality test. It's called TAPAS, which stands for the Tailored Adaptive Personality Assessment System. And I didn't like that personality test at all. Personally, I felt like, so it'll ask you 2 questions at a time, and it'll ask you to pick one or the other that feels more relatable to you. But I felt like a lot of the options, neither one applies sometimes. And that'll happen, but you still have to pick one. Like, let's see, for example, it'll be maybe, I get angered really easily, and the other option would be like, oh, anxiety and worry get the best of me sometimes. And like, what if neither of these apply to you? You know what I mean? But you still have to pick one. So I don't know. I felt like it wasn't very accurate for myself, at least. But yeah, so I don't know exactly what time I started, but I got to MEPS at 1, and then I was done with my testing and everything, and back at the Air Force Liaison Office by like maybe 4:30. So I finished. Yeah, you turn in your scratch paper and your pencil, and they say like, okay, your scores are processed, go back to your branch office. And so when I got back, I felt bad because there was only one guy working still. Like, there was like 2 people when I first got there, and so he was kind of all over the place trying to schedule taxis for people that were done, as well as looking up scores and stuff. So when I got there, he was on the phone already with the taxi service, but he was like, oh, what's your name? Like, let me look up your score at the same time. And so we looked it up, and I did get a 96, which is okay. I mean, it's still like a really good score, don't get me wrong, but I think because just my sense of pride, just a little bit, wanted to keep that 98, because the highest score you can get on the ASVAB is 99. So I was like, dang it. but it's fine, because I know it's still good. I'm still proud of the score I got. And it was funny because he was still on the phone, right? But he saw my score and he was like, that's so good, like, good job. And I was like, thanks. But he couldn't really talk because he was still on the phone. But so that was nice. Yeah, and then so he called me a taxi and pretty much got to check out. And by that time, yeah, it's like 4:45, something like that. And then even the taxi driver was really nice. He picked me up and was like, what did you do today? Personality, your physical test or your ASVAB testing. And I let him know, and he's like, oh, what score did you get? I told him, oh, I got 96. And he's like, oh my god, that's so good, congratulations. He was like so excited for me. So that felt nice. I was like, oh, thank you. So yeah, that was my experience. I think overall, the only thing I really regret is not eating or drinking anything, because I was honestly so nauseous and like had such a big headache by the time I was driving home in the taxi. But other than that, it was an exciting experience, because it's the first step of actually getting this process going. And yeah, like I said, I just wanted to document how this goes so I don't forget in the future, and so I can share this with people in my life. So, and if you are watching this and are curious to see how my journey goes, then this is the first step. So thanks for listening. And I do have, like I said, a whole story about everything that's happened so far. There are other things that I'm trying to figure out so that I can hopefully, swear in and everything. But we'll see what happens when that time comes. So that is all. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. And yeah, just excited to keep this journey going. So sorry, cut off, but I'll see you next time. Bye.